So here I am in Online GDB. What I've done is I've printed a famous poem by Robert Frost. You can see this is an 8-line poem, and here's the title. I have a blank line and then the actual poem, and then I have the author's name kind of tabbed over. So I'm going to show you how to manipulate output a little bit here, and you have a couple of choices. You have different styles of cout statements you can use. First and foremost, if you're going to be using cout, which you almost always are, then you want to make sure you include IOStream at the top, as well as using namespace standard. This is the library checkout routine to use that cout object. And so basically, we use cout with the insertion operator. And in this case, I'm just outputting strings. We'll deal with numbers later in the course, but for now, we just have some strings. And so that's a string of data in quotes. There are double quotes in C++. And then endl will advance to the next line. And you know what, because, look at the output here. You have the title here, and then I have a blank line. So I added a second endl. Every endl that you add there is going to push down the output to the next line. Okay, so if you want a big space between there, you can put multiple endls. You know, another trick for advancing to the next line is to use what we call an escape sequence. In this case, the new line escape sequence. Let me put a comment there. The new line escape sequence. And here's an example of the new line escape sequence. Watch this. In front of this word natures, I'm going to put \n. That's the new line. I'm going to run that. You know what? Let me put a couple of them so it's really obvious. \n. And notice I'm inside the quotes when I'm using the new line escape sequence. The endl does not go inside the quotes. The new line escape sequence, which is going to have the same effect basically, it goes inside the quotes. Okay, let's see the effect here. Okay, you can see the output is pushed down even more. So so you have two choices for advancing to the next line. Endl, which does not go in quotes, and then new line escape sequence, which you would put in your quotes. So, you know, and that's really convenient with the new line escape sequence. It's just very convenient to just, you know, squeeze in there and throw in a \n, and it's less syntax than adding another insertion operator, another endl. Okay. So there's that, and you can see, so let's look at the styles of output I'm using here. So this, in the first 4 lines, for example, you know what, I'll break this into, maybe I'll put a space, new line in between the first 4 lines and the last 4 lines. So basically, in these first 4 lines, I'm just doing 4 distinct cout statements. Every statement begins with a cout and ends with an endl, and more specifically a semicolon. So each of these is just a standalone statement, a complete cout statement, almost like a complete sentence in English with a beginning and it ends with a period. So that's a complete statement. So that's what I'm doing for the first 4 lines. It's just one way of doing it. Another way of doing it would be this. What I'm doing the second 4 lines, it's really like just one long cout statement. Notice there's just one cout here, as opposed to in the first 4 lines I have 4 couts, right? Here, this is just one cout and one semicolon terminating that statement. So it's like a big, long cout statement. It's all, everything is kind of strung together with these insertion operators. You have to have those. But yeah, so I guess this would be a little more concise because we don't have quite as much code. There's nothing wrong with this, though, especially for beginners. I think, you know, students like to just have that, you know, just the succinct or, you know, just complete statements, top to bottom, and not have to worry about, you know, the syntax tricks and the shortcuts and stuff like that. So if that works better for you, go ahead and do it. But you have this option to just, you know, kind of consolidate a little bit and not have quite as much code. Excuse me. So also, I used here to get the Robert Frost name. You see how that's tabbed over? That's 2 tabs. So I put the tab escape sequence there, \t to tab over. So yeah, you have the new line escape sequence and also the tab escape sequence that you're welcome to use. But yeah, so just do the style that works best for you. And but syntax is everything here. For example, I think as long as I'm here, I'm just going to generate an error and just show you, because this is a huge part of coding, is like dealing with errors. Let's say I forget one of my insertion operators, which is an honest mistake. I go to run this code. Okay, see, I'm at a standstill here. Then that's C++ is a very unforgiving language. It's very finicky. It's got to be perfect. I mean, the program is almost perfect, right? Except I forgot that one thing. Almost doesn't cut it in coding. It's got to be perfect, or the whole thing is just useless, basically. So you really have to troubleshoot every error that comes up. You just have to, find it and put out those little fires as they come up. And, and this is interesting. The error, it's telling me that I'm missing a semicolon. It's saying, oh, expected semicolon. So you really can't count on that. You can't count on those error messages. They're very misleading. The problem here is not a missing semicolon. I'm missing an insertion operator, basically. Let's see if I can, I can't even, it'll give you a line number. That's a good hint, I guess. Like it says 31. The error is, in fact, on line 31. It's just not the error it's telling me, right? So use the line numbers as a guide, but just, kind of ignore the rest of it, I would say, because it's only, it might just send you down the wrong path. At this point, you just don't know enough about the syntax to know, what's right and what's wrong. And that's normal at this point. So just have to be super careful. So I'm going to add that back in, and I'll be able to run it.